Well, hello everybody. Got a little bit of a late start today. Had doctor's appointments and such. And today we're going to be translating this morning's conference. And because of my appointments, I have not had a chance to see it in advance. So we'll find out together what the president said and did and what happened today at the press conference. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start. I'm going to hit the go button here. Well, hello everybody. Good morning.
Vamos a informar el día de hoy, inicia la semana.
We're going to inform today the week begins, like always.
El quién es quién.
It's over who's who.
En los precios de los combustibles.
In the prices of combustibles, gas, diesel,
y gas.
And gas, regular gas.
Importante.
This is very important.
Lo repito.
I repeat, because this is what stabilizes the prices, that there not be something that's colloquially known as, or better expressed as, above all, or better understood as, that there not be overages or overcharging, because if the price, the gas, electricity, everything depends very much. The expenses in life. So one of the problems in the neoliberal period was that they didn't care if they constantly elevated the prices for combustibles, the famous gas hikes that they did. So then now, with this information, the prices helps us a lot, helps the economy. So also, to demonstrate briefly how we started to work in the construction of the new airport in Santa Lucia. Now the Secretary of Defense, with his team of engineers that are in charge by General Vallejo, has already initiated. And we're going to demonstrate how in 10 days we are going to advance. And it is also like this. It's not to confront with a will to confront, but it's to gently say, learn, take a look and then learn, or watch and learn. So take a look at this video. It's very brief. So we're watching a video now. Wow. That was a trick, he said. So you can see it twice. Because it doesn't have audio. You have to look at it again. Pretty tricky. If you want to wait, if you want us to wait so you can prepare, and we'll ask Ricardo. How is it when you're gonna show? It's like a premiere. Oh, like Trailer. He says it's a trailer.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Muy
Thank
buenos
you,
días a
Mr.
todas y a todos
President.
ustedes.
And hello to
En el
everyone.
quién es quién en los
In
precios
the
de los
who's who in
combustibles,
prices for
la gasolina
combustibles,
regular
for
la
regular
encontramos
gasoline,
con el precio y el
we find
margen
it
más
with the
alto
highest
en
prices at
Emerald Gas, Los Cabos, Baja
2188
California,
and Baja
21.88
California
por
Emerald
litro
gas
precio al público con un margen de
with a
3.26.
margin of
Esta joyita
326.
de Baja California Sur
This
vuelve a
little
brillar
jewel
en
of
esta semana, no para
Baja
bien.
California, it's not doing
El
very well.
SGS de Centro Tabasco
In
tiene el precio más bajo, 17.89 por
SGE in
litro, con un margen de
Central
22
Tabasco has the
centavos.
lowest
Mientras que
price,
en el combustible
while
premium,
in
la
combustibles
estación BP
in premium,
en Benito
the
Juárez, aquí en la Ciudad de
station
México,
BP in
con un precio de
Benito Juárez has a
22.78 por litro al público y
22.78
un margen
per
de 3.90, es
to
el
the
más alto
public,
en este
which
tipo
has
de combustible. BP tenía
3.90
tiempo
margin, which
que
is
no había
very
estado en
high.
unos precios
They
altos,
haven't
pero
had
bueno,
something that
aquí
price in a
algún
while.
distribuidor se
But
decidió
here, this
a
distributor
brillar en
decided
sentido contrario.
to try against the grain.
Superservicio Cargagas en Cuernavaca,
So
Morelos,
there's
a
another service called
18.97
Cuernavaca
por litro, es el precio más
Super
bajo, con un
Servicio.
margen de 42
It
centavos.
has a margin
Da
of
gusto ver que aparezca acá
42. He's got the
gasolineras que no
lowest
sean de
price.
Tabasco, Veracruz
So
o
it's
zonas
good
que
to
han
see
caracterizado por dar
stations that
precio
are not
bajo.
from Tabasco
Ahora
and
en
Veracruz
Cuernavaca,
that
Morelos, un
now
buen esfuerzo.
Cuernavaca Morelos has a low
Servicios
price as
gasolineros de
well.
México en Atotonilco, El Alto,
So in
Jalisco, con un precio
Atotonilco,
de 22 pesos 8
Jalisco,
centavos por litro y un margen de 3 pesos 16
has a
centavos,
margin of
es el más
3.6,
caro
is
en
the
diésel,
most expensive
mientras que
in
el más
diesel,
económico lo
while the
encontramos en
most
Servicio
economical
Periméndez
is
en
in
Centro
Servicio
Tabasco a
Perimendes in
19.39
center
por
of
litro con un
Tabasco,
margen de 37 centavos.
19.39 with a
Las
margin.
marcas con los precios más
I missed
altos,
the margin,
Chevron,
sorry.
Repco, Arco
So
y
the most
Shell,
expensive
mientras que
were
los más económicos,
those
Gulf,
up there,
Orsan, La Gas
Arco,
y
Shell,
Total.
and who was the first
Lamentablemente
one?
ya
Chevron,
las redes
Redco.
chicas
Okay.
que estuvo ahí algunas semanas
So
ya
you can
no
see the lowest
aparecieron.
ones are on the other
Volvieron a
end,
subir
and you can
sus
look at
precios. En las acciones de
the
verificación a gasolineras y
chart that they
estaciones
have.
de servicio, comentarle que atendimos 288
So we attended to
denuncias y quejas
288
presentadas por los
claims that were
consumidores en
presented by
nuestra
the
app de
consumers
litro por litro,
as a liter per
171
liter, and 171
verificaciones o
were
visitas
verified
realizadas. Entre
and
ellas
visited,
hubo una de llamar la
and one
atención
of them
que
that
hizo mucho ruido
caused
en
their
las redes
attention
sociales
that
en
made a
la
lot of problem
carretera
in the
a Toluca,
social web in
una
Toluca,
gasolinera
a
que estuvo
gas station
extendiendo
that was
algunos
extending
minutos, porque no llegó a ser
for a
ni una
few
hora,
minutes, like
gasolina
nearly an
revuelto
hour.
con agua
They
o
were
agua
putting
revuelta con
water in the
gasolina. ¿Por qué?
gasoline.
La gente luego
So the
piensa que esa es
people,
la manera de
they
robar.
think that
No,
that's how they
a
usually
robar
steal.
los
No, when they
rastrillos.
steal, they
Ahí
use
sí, y ahorita lo vamos a ver un
the
caso
rakes,
ejemplar en lo negativo
and we'll show
en
you in a
Acapulco.
minute how
Esto
that
sucede
is
por
when they
falta
do
de
that.
mantenimiento.
But that is done
Llueve
that
fuerte, no tiene mantenimiento,
water
los tanques se filtra el agua y lo
when they
primero que
have lack
sale
of
al
a
accionar las
maintenance.
bombas es
That's
agua en lugar de
usually more of
combustible
an
y
accident, not
obviamente
usually
se
because they're trying to
descomponen
steal.
los vehículos.
So then
Van
the
a tener que
vehicles
pagar
break
la
down.
reparación de más
So
de
they're going to
30
have to
vehículos y
pay the
Profeco se va a
repairs
encargar de que paguen. En
for
promedio le va a
more than
costar
30
30,000
vehicles, and
pesos la
Profeco is going to
reparación de
have to
cada
pay for it.
vehículo.
And
No
they're going to
es la
have to
forma
pay
de
for their
robar,
repair.
ni
But
lo
that is
hacen
not
por
a
robar, lo
way
hacen por
to
no
steal.
invertir en el mantenimiento
That's
de sus
because they didn't
estaciones.
invest in
En esta
maintenance, and they
ocasión de
should
las
have.
verificaciones, una
So these were the
gasolinera no se dejó
verifications.
verificar
One
y
did not
movilizamos
allow to
93
be
bombas mangueras.
verified,
La gasolinera
and
que no
we
se dejó verificar
immobilized.
para que no vayan
How
es la
many
de
did he say?
gasolinera Rael, San Pablo del Monte en Tlaxcala, Avenida
So they
Ayuntamiento
found 18 had
número 1. Algo
irregularities.
esconden, ya lo
So if they
descubriremos con
don't,
apoyo de la fuerza pública en un
so then
operativo especial.
so they
Y
do
en
special
Avenida
operations
Crucero
on
Miguel
people who
Alemán
refuse,
número
and there was one refusal.
2224, Colonia, Fraccionamiento Club Deportivo en Acapulco, Guerrero.
So this is the one that,
Encontramos todas las bombas de esta estación de servicio. Es la primera vez
this
que
is the first
inmovilizamos
time
el
they found
100%
one.
de las bombas de una
They stopped
estación
all
de
the
servicio. Los
stations
agarramos a
because
la maroma
they
completa
had
porque estaban
rakes.
robando casi un 10%
They were stealing
del
10%
combustible
of
en
the
todas las
combustible
bombas.
in all their
Y
pumps.
en consecuencia, pues fue
And
cerrada la
as to a
gasolinera porque
consequence,
todas
they
las bombas
closed that gas
fueron
station, and
inmovilizadas.
all their pumps were immobilized.
110,149 descargas en nuestro sistema de la app de litro por
149,000
litro. Agradecemos que lo sigan descargando, sobre todo que lo
uses
sigan
of the app.
utilizando porque se vuelven parte de
And
la
it
fuerza
becomes
de
part of the
verificación a
force of
través de los consultores
verification when the,
empoderados en
the
toda la
consumers.
República
So there's
Mexicana para el
110,
litro por litro para este
149
tema
people
importante de los
that,
combustibles. La gasolina más barata regular la
downloaded the
encontramos
app.
en Coatzacoalcos, Veracruz a 17 pesos con 61 centavos, mientras que la más cara a
So there you
21.99
could see
Gustavo
the
Alarcón,
highest and
Colonia
lowest
Juárez. Para
prices.
premium la más barata en Cuernavaca, Morelos,
So they're repeating everything that they
18.97 por
said a few
litro,
minutes
y la
ago.
más cara 22.99 por litro en Santana,
So
Sonora.
it would
El
behoove you
diésel
to
el más
check these
económico
lists if
Medellín de
you're
Bravo,
in
Veracruz
Mexico to
18.99
see
y
where's
para Valera la más
the
cara
best price if you're in one of
22.96
these
en Zaguayo,
areas.
Michoacán, y ya
And
lleva
also who to
meses
stay away
dando el
from,
diésel más caro en todo el país.
because
Nos vamos a quienes quieren el gas
they're trying to let you
LP
know
y tenemos para tanques
so that the
estacionarios
public
el
can
precio
not
más
buy
alto
from
en
them to
Tláhuac,
help
Ciudad de
stop
México, gas de
the increased
exprendimiento
prices,
a 11 pesos con
because they're
2
going
centavos por
against what the
litro con un
president
margen de
said
6
to do.
pesos 23 centavos,
See here,
mientras que el más
this is
económico a
the
7.60 por
tank
litro en San Luis de
gases.
la Paz,
So you
Guanajuato,
can see
lo está
that
dando don Jesús Vázquez con
who
un margen
giving
de 2
Jesus
pesos
Vasquez has a
25
very
centavos.
good low
Mientras que en
price.
cilindros en Holbox Gas, Chetumal, Quintana
So
Roo,
the
a 20
cylinders,
pesos 74 centavos por litro es el precio
20.74
más
was the
alto,
highest price
9
in
pesos
Quintana
con 10
Roo.
centavos de margen,
And that's a
y el más
9
económico
peso
otra vez
margin,
don
which
Jesús
is a
Vázquez,
lot.
pero ahora en una estación en donde venden en Dolores Hidalgo, Guanajuato, con un precio al
This guy
público de
in
14.80
Dolores,
por kilo,
Guanajuato, they
4
have
pesos 7 centavos
14.90,
de
which is a
margen.
very
Agradecemos a
good
don
price.
Jesús el esfuerzo que hace
So
para
they
los
appreciate the
consumidores,
effort that they
sobre
do to
todo
help the
para mis paisanos
consumers,
guanajuatenses.
especially for the people in
57
Guanajuato.
verificaciones realizadas a expendedores de gas LP,
And
12 con
so they
infracción,
expend
4
LP gas.
angelitos no se dejaron verificar.
Oh, so 4 little
Fueron
angels did not allow
3
themselves to be
estaciones en
verified.
Apodaca, Nuevo León,
There's 3
Gas
stations in
Quintana y 2 de
Apodaca,
Regiomontana, para que sepan
Nuevo
los
León,
consumidores a quién
so that
evitar comprarle.
so
Y
he's
Gas
putting it
Tradicional
on
del Norte en Marín, Nuevo León,
monitor so
fue
you
la
can see
cuarta que no se
who
dejó
not to
verificar
buy
y que queda
from.
para un operativo especial. 9 de 277
9 out of
basculaciones realizadas, 12
177.
de 33 vehículos
And you can
fueron
see on the list the
inmovilizados,
numbers.
8
I'm sorry, I'm not going to translate all that whole list.
89, verificamos 39 lotes de cilindros con 855 cilindros, 147 con problemas, 24 que es el 3% con problemas que ponen en riesgo al consumidor.
So they're putting at risk the consumer when they're putting their prices up, is what he said. So I think they've fixed it. So they're ready to do their video. So it's the advancement in the construction. Oh, now they have music. I can remove my camera too, you know. So you guys can see. Oh, there it is. There we go. Wow, that is pretty cool, man. They're moving fast. They're doing a lot of work. Check that out. Man, our president is on the ball. He don't play. Check that out. Wow. So now that's the parking area, he says. Wow. Awesome, right? So let me put myself back on. That's in 10 days. That's what they've done. In 10 days. And
Suelo firme,
I say firmly
no fango.
that the land is firm, not boggy.
Muy bien, abrimos
So now we're gonna open
para preguntas y respuestas.
for questions and answers.
Buenos días.
So hello, Mr. President. Han Salazar from CTMG. And I would like to ask you, first of all, what opinion do you have regarding the elections yesterday in Argentina? What is your perspective in that region? And do you consider that that there is a turn towards liberalism in that run of politics? And so the ones that are going against the model, do you consider that this run that they're having, that is favorable for what's happening here in Mexico on behalf of your government? So, what about the president-elect in Argentina? Do you feel like that? Do you feel? Do you have a different vision, or do you think that you agree with their, or regarding the leadership? So I respect the processes, political processes, electoral in every land, country. So today I have thought of that I will call the president-elect in Argentina, Alberto Fernandez, and also the president, Evo Morales. I am going to make these two calls in order to congratulate them. I would do it also if it meant if someone else had won, other candidates that had won in the processes, democratic processes. But I cannot give more opinion, and I've already spoken that what each country, a sovereign, that they should assume as politics. In the case of Mexico, we receive or decided not to continue with the neoliberal politics or porfirism. That was the change. And we are taking into practice a new model that is different. This new model with moral economy or of moral and well-being, I am defining it and clarifying it within a book that will be soon be put out on the 1st of December. I am told by the editors Planet that the book will be ready or in books on the 1st of December. And there I defined the house, because I recall when I was in the position, our adversaries, the intellectuals, writers, analysts, they used to say benevolently, yes, yes, yes. Yes, we're in agreement with the diagnosis. But then hows? What about the hows? Those famous comos, which is house. Because they used to think that there was no other way. That it was neoliberalism or nothing. They used to see the model as infallible, like the most modern thing. Everything else that was produced was a step backwards. And it would not go according to globality or global world, or with the new proposal of globalization. They thought that globalization was the panacea, that the market would resolve it all. That why should the state, that is to say, only in a simulated way, because in reality, they would utilize the states when they needed to be rescued or rescue uh, uh, financial institutions that had broken or lost their funds, and then they would put the expense on the people, and then they would say the market, yes, the market, it would take, they would take charge of the economic growth. That if it rained hard above, then it would drip, trickle down. So that the state, how could the state promote the development? Because the pro, they they didn't want to share the wealth. They figured if they got a lot up there, then some would trickle down, as if though richness would be contagious, like if it was permeable. So therefore, all those euphemisms were like a screen at the end of everything in order to loot. And that's how they took it into effect in the case of Mexico. The heaviest case of looting in the whole history of our country. It should be very clear that during the neoliberal period, in 36 years, they looted Mexico like never before had it happened like this. Not even is it comparable with the looting that happened in the 3 centuries that we were under the control of the colonials. So we decided not to continue with that politics. Besides that, what were the results? More poverty, less equality, more insecurity, more violence. And then, of course, a whole lot more, because that was the incentive of the neoliberal government, a lot more corruption. So no, we set that aside. That is not for us. Or in the case of Mexico. And that's why we're writing this book. And it'll be out on the 1st. And we'll let you know at that time. And I will call the presidents to congratulate them. And I was monitoring it, and just like I was also checking out that the Astros won, and that we were at 3-2, and we're getting closer. So the prognosis that we made, that they were going to be the champions of the World Series, but still there's a way to go in baseball. It hasn't ended until it ends. It's when the first falls. So I have a question, Mr. President, regarding the same matter in Argentina and Bolivia that you're touching on. Are you willing to meet, or have you contemplated meeting with the president-elect and the re-elect president in future dates? But in order to, like with this logic of exchange of politics and experiences, in order to go against and to help change this model that has already been written, so the affecting that it has done to the people in these years, and above all, to open some economic gateways to the region of South America, like with the matter of the U.S. And we even said in a punctual way the advancement. Are you also thinking about making these bridges to make it equal the region of South America? And regarding, did you bet? And did you make any bets with anyone? No, regarding, no, the prognosis is pending since 20 days ago. And it's, I guess, on my, somewhere that he has on his documentation. And I predicted that at the end it would be the Astros. Oh, I thought it was Astros and Cardinals, and that's where I was wrong. But Astros is good, but it's very important in this series. And there they go. They've won 2 games. And they're in favor of Washington. In Washington, the 2 that have won in Washington have been realized in Houston. While in Houston, while they were at home, they lost 2. And so they're going to Washington, and Washington lost in their own home 3. So it's 3-2, and tomorrow it's the 6th one. And after, if Astros win, then it ends right there. But if they lose, then it's a tie, and then Wednesday it would be resolved. But that's for those that would like baseball. We need to be thinking about sports. And the best thing is to do sports. That's the best of all. To exercise, to walk, eat well, take care of our weight, and don't eat junk food. And that way it will help you not to have obesity. Because a lot of illnesses have to do with that, and we can resolve it. And now that the time has changed, we have a possibility to wake up earlier, and we can do some exercise. So here, just look at this. It's been about 15 days that Cuba was with us. And the week before that, the president from Costa Rica came. And this week, we're going to have the president from Panama. And we are we're very happy to be receiving the president, and we are going to be doing it with the president from other countries, the prime ministers of other countries, in order to encourage the relations for development and friendship. And so it's probable that we get a chance to meet with the president of Argentina and Ecuador and Bolivia, and also with the president of Ecuador if he solicits. And he'd done it before, but he canceled his trip to Mexico. And also it had been done by, or it was being planned by the president from Chile, but also he canceled. But the doors are open of our country. Open door policy. So, Mr. President Jose Sobrevilla, there's a little unsettling regarding Michoacan, regarding the matter a federalization of the teachers. We ask about this federalization.
Bueno,
Well,
el propósito
the
es
purpose
que se actualice
is that we
todo
actualize
lo relacionado con
everything that is
el
related
pago
to with the
a
payment
los maestros.
to the teachers.
Hay, desde luego,
Of
un
course,
marco legal
there is a colleaguing
que rige
that is
el
rigid
pago de las nóminas.
or that
El gobierno
sets
federal
the
paga la
payment.
nómina de
So,
los maestros
so the federal government pays
federales
the money to
y
the federal
por lo
teachers,
general los
and in
estados
general,
pagan
the states
la
pay
nómina
the
de los maestros estatales.
payment for the state ones,
También con
and also
transferencias de recursos.
with
Fueron
transferences
acuerdos que se
of
tomaron
resources.
cuando se descentralizó,
And this is something that
La
happened when it was centralized with
parecido a
inflation,
lo que se hizo
kind of like
con la
what was done
descentralización
with this
de los
decentralization
servicios de salud.
of this health services.
Entonces,
So therefore,
hay fórmulas,
there's
la
formulas.
federación entrega
The federation turns over
a
the
los
funds
estados
to the states
para pagarle a los maestros.
in order to pay the teachers.
Pero
However,
por mala administración
due to bad administration
o porque
or due to
aumenta
the increase
el gasto,
for the expenses,
aumenta la matrícula de alumnos
and so the number of
en un estado
people
más
going
de lo
in,
que se estimó.
into the
Y
that
hay
are
que
being
contratar
going
más
into the
maestros.
colleges, and so then
Lo
they've
que se
got more than what they
transfiere
were expected. So then what
no
is transferred
alcanza
is not enough,
por
or the budget
las
that they
razones
get.
que sean.
So for whatever
Mala
reasons it may be,
administración,
so poor administration, or
son malos gastos.
there's more
que
expenses
presupuestos.
than what the budget was.
Entonces,
So therefore,
había
there was
la costumbre
this
de que a
custom
finales
that at the end
de cada año
of each year,
se les daba a los estados
you would give to the states, or the states would be
un
given
complemento
a complement,
y cada
and each
estado negociaba
state would negotiate
su complemento
their complement
de acuerdo a cómo
according to
se llevara con el secretario de Hacienda.
how they got along with the
Entonces,
Secretary of Hacienda.
autorizaba.
So then they would authorize
Esto
it.
también sucedía en el caso de las
And this
universidades.
also
Bueno,
happened in the
sucedía en
case
todo.
of the universities. It happened with everything.
Había mucha discrecionalidad.
There was a lot of
Cuando fue de-
discretionality when it came to these things.
Habían fondos
There were
para
funds for cuts
fondos especiales,
or payoffs, special funds
presidentes municipales.
for
Pues por
municipal
eso las
presidents.
protestas.
And that's why it's bothering them.
Al extremo
To the
de
extreme
que
that
los diputados
the
manejaban
deputies
presupuestos.
used to manage the budget.
Se les asignaban
They would
10
assign it.
millones de pesos a
Like
cada
say they would
diputado.
get
o
10
15,
million,
20.
10 or 15 or 20 to each deputy.
Y con
And
ese dinero
with that money,
los diputados negociaban
they would
con presidentes municipales, con
they would
gobernadores.
negotiate.
Les daban esos recursos
They would get those
a
resources
cambio de
in exchange
un moche.
a cut, a pay, like say a bribe.
Eso
So
en
that
complicidad con
was
Hacienda,
in complicity with Hacienda,
porque desde luego
because
es
of
una
course
irregularidad.
that is an
Los
irregularity.
diputados no tienen por qué
The
manejar presupuestos.
deputies have no
No es esa
reason
su
to
función.
be handling the budget. That's not their
Entonces, todo
function.
eso ya
So all these things
no
are
Eh,
no longer
se permite
permitted,
y cuesta trabajo que
and
se
it's
entienda.
difficult
ejemplo,
for them
ahora
to understand it.
Se está
So like say for
por
example
aprobar
now
el ingreso,
they are talking about
pues,
putting the law
los
of
diputados
income.
con
So now
esa
the
lógica
deputies with that logic,
dicen vamos a aumentar
they say we're going to increase
impuestos,
the taxes.
vamos a que haya más déficit,
So we're going to increase the deficit.
vamos a calcular
And so we're going to
más alto el
calculate
precio del petróleo
higher the price of petroleum,
y así
And that way,
tenemos
we'll have
supuestamente más dinero,
supposedly more money,
hacemos una bolsa
and then we'll make a
con eso y la repartimos
like a purse, and
para las
we'll
organizaciones
split it
beneficiarias,
amongst the
las de la
organizations,
llamada sociedad civil,
like these social
los
organizations,
gobiernos estatales, los
the
gobiernos
state governments,
municipales,
the municipal governments,
las universidades
the universities,
y todos.
and all of them would get some.
Pero ¿qué significa eso?
But what does that mean?
Más deuda,
More debt,
el aumento de los impuestos,
increase in
el
taxes,
que no alcanza el presupuesto,
that now all of a sudden the
entonces
budget is not
se
enough,
decida
so they decide
aumentar el precio de las
to increase the
gasolinas.
price of gases.
Entonces todo eso ya
So
se
all
terminó.
these things are ended. They've been put to an end. So now
Es lo que se tiene
that is what we have is conformity.
con la ley de coordinación fiscal.
They have
Lo
to.
que le corresponde a los
They
estados,
can only
lo
take
que
what
le
goes
corresponde
is supposed to go to
a
them,
los municipios,
and the municipalities
y
have to
lo que
take
le
what they get,
corresponde
and what
al ejecutivo. Sin
is
embargo,
supposed to go to the
se
executive.
está haciendo una revisión
But now they're reviewing
para
in order to
federalizar los
federalize
servicios.
the services.
En el caso de la educación,
And in the case of education,
para que se les pague a los maestros
in order to pay the teachers,
igual como se les paga a los maestros
like you pay
federales,
the
que se les
federal
pague a los
teachers,
estatales,
they will pay the state ones.
nosotros nos hacemos cargo.
So we'll take charge of it.
Pero
However,
vamos primero
first we are going
a
to
revisar la nómina.
review the nomina, which I'm trying to figure out what nomina is. I guess it's like what they assign for the budget.
Un censo,
So we're
escuela
going
por
to
escuela.
make a census school by school,
Vamos
and we are going
que
to
se sepa cuánto
let you know
es
how
lo que
much
se necesita.
is that is needed.
Y desde la tesorería de la
And
federación,
from the
como sucede
federal treasury,
en el
like it
caso de
occurs
los maestros,
in the case of the federal teachers,
federales, se les va a pagar a todos.
they will pay everyone the same way.
Nosotros nos hacemos cargo.
So we're going to take charge of that.
Aún, este,
And even
si hace
so,
falta,
as it is needed,
un mayor recurso.
a
Pero queremos
greater
tener la
resource,
seguridad
but we want to
de
have
que se
the
maneja bien
assurance that it's being well
el
managed,
presupuesto.
this budget.
No culpo a nadie.
I am not
pero,
blaming anyone,
en
but
el caso de salud,
in the case of health,
el llamado
the
seguro popular
so-called
era
popular
la caja chica
health
de
was actually
algunos
like
gobiernos estatales.
like their little cash box for some of the
Se
state
usaba
governments.
para
So they used to use the funds
otros fines el
for
dinero.
other things, other ends.
Entonces,
And
todo eso
so
es lo que se está
all of that is what we're realizing.
Hay
Fortunately,
entendimiento con los gobernadores, vamos bien.
there's some understanding with the governors, but in
Se
the
está,
government
aplicando el ensayo
that is applying the practice
el estado de Michoacán.
is
En el
the
caso
state of
de
Michoacán,
educación,
in the case of education.
a partir de
And as of
lo que resulte en
whatever
Michoacán,
comes out in Michoacán, then we'll start
a la federalización
to the federalization
Sí,
throughout the whole country.
así
And
lo
that,
acepta
if that's how it's accepted
el gobierno
by the
estatal.
state government,
Es decir, si están
that is,
de
if,
acuerdo. Es
if they're in
voluntario,
agreement. It is
no
voluntary.
es obligatorio.
It is not obligatory.
Se puede llegar a ese
And they
acuerdo
come to that
si
agreement
ellos
if they
deciden
decide
que la nómina
that the
se
nomina
federalice.
be federalized. So this next question, Mr. President, when will the Mexican people know the politics for the fourth transformation in public media?
Pues ya
Well,
no
now,
solo las conoces,
not only do you know them,
todos los días
but every day
se dan cuenta los
you
mexicanos,
find the Mexican people find out,
como nunca
like never
había
before.
sucedido,
as before. It never
Se
happened before.
garantiza el derecho a la información, no se
We
oculta
guarantee the
nada.
right to
Y así lo
information,
vamos
nothing's hidden,
a seguir haciendo.
and that's how we're going to continue doing it.
Desde luego,
And of course,
se tiene que dar a conocer con más frecuencia, porque ya se
it's
hace,
going to be
lo de los convenios o contratos de publicidad
contracts for
con las
publicity
empresas
has
de
already
medios.
been made.
Ni hablar
And it's not
acerca
even
de
worth
la libertad.
talking about liberty.
Eso es sagrado.
It's
Nosotros
sacred.
no vamos
And we are not going to
pedir que se despida
let
a un
anybody
conductor
be
de radio, a un conductor de
asking
televisión,
for anyone to
a
be
un columnista
or
del
some
periódico,
columnist. We're not going to ask for anybody to
porque
be
nos
fired
critica.
because they would
Nos
critique us.
sentiríamos hasta
Like if
mal.
that would
Estamos
feel bad
acostumbrados, pues, a la crítica.
because we're used to the critique for a long time.
Sería inmoral
It would be immoral
que
too
nos metiéramos a manejar la
for
política
us
editorial
to
en los medios.
to be messing with the
Y se
media.
están dando cambios.
And so
Ahora,
changes are
si me
happening.
preguntas esto, aprovecho para decir que lamento
And
bastante,
feel it's lamentable, and I was paying attention,
preocupado
and I was worried
y también ocupado
and
porque
also
hubo un
concerned
accidente
about
de compañeros de
a accident that happened with
los
the
medios
media
que
partners
nos acompañan
that were
a la gira.
accompanying us on the
Un
route.
accidente,
And there was
se
an
volcó
accident
una camioneta,
that happened with a truck,
se dio la atención,
and they got their attention.
sí fueron varios los lesionados, afortunadamente no graves,
But it was
ya
not
están
grave.
en recuperación.
And they're already recovering.
Ayer comentaba yo,
And yesterday I was commenting,
pues hay que buscar la forma
let's look for we need to try and look for the ways to prevent risks that are not necessary, or that if they don't necessarily need to go to cover.
desde aquí.
All the way from here,
Hay medios que tienen
there's media that have
que sería
people
mejor
that go.
que los medios que tienen
It's better to send people that have people in that area cover that
y buscar
and look
mecanismos
for a mechanism
de otro tipo
of
también.
other types as well.
Lo cierto es
So
que
the
todos los
certain
actos
thing
públicos
is
se
that all
transmiten,
public acts be transmitted
en vivo,
and be done live,
todos.
all of them.
Y por práctica,
And due to the practice,
yo no hablo
I have not spoken on,
más que en los actos
except
públicos.
when it comes to public
A veces
acts.
llego a un estado y
I
están
go
los
to a
periodistas
state
y me quieren ahí
and
entrevistar
and they want to
y
interview me,
procuro
and I
esperar
am
hasta el
cautious to wait till the very
Esto
end.
es para que los que van con
So that
nosotros, que
you
están
go with
sacando
us,
maletas,
and they're taking out their
no llegan,
stuff and they don't get there,
como se dice,
but like
no
they
se les vaya
say,
la nota.
they don't get the note.
La verdad es de que
The truth is that
no hablo.
I don't
Procuro nada más
speak
decir, estoy
just
muy
to say,
contento de estar aquí,
I'm
porque
just glad to be here,
siento siempre
the way I
cuando
feel
llego a un
happy
estado,
every day when I go
y
to a
vamos
state,
al acto.
and then we go to the act,
Y ahí se transmite.
and there it is transmitted.
Si hubiese una cosa especial,
If there was some special thing that was grave,
pues
then
entonces sí,
yes.
pero
However,
por lo general lo hago
in general,
a través de
I do it
el
via
Face o
face,
del Twitter.
Facebook or Twitter.
Siempre. lo hago
Usually,
así.
I do it this way.
Entonces hay que ver
So
cómo
therefore,
se
we
resuelve
need
esto.
to
Porque me decían,
keep an eye and look on
que
this,
se
because they
acortara.
used to say for me
número de
to
actos.
short
No me
the
alcanza el tiempo.
the number of visits. He says, but I don't
Es
have
muy
enough
grande el
time.
país
The country is too big,
y tengo que
And I have to go
visitar
and visit
todo el país,
the whole country.
no estar
And
solo aquí,
I can't just be
sino los
sitting
fines de
here
semana
on,
recorrer
but on the weekends I
el país
travel
ya hasta
through the whole
después,
country.
terminando la
And
gira
then when I do the whole
en
run
las regiones indígenas,
in the indigenous regions,
es muy importante
which is
ir a ver
very important
a los pueblos indígenas,
to the indigenous people,
olvidados,
they've
marginados,
been forgotten and
porque
margined
también ellos
because also they
este,
need
desaparecieron
were like disappeared
durante la política neoliberal,
during the whole neoliberal period.
antes de el neoliberalismo,
Before the neoliberal
hasta los
period,
años 80,
like around the years 80,
tenían
they had
vida
a life.
los centros coordinadores indigenistas.
The coordinators of
Bueno, se
indigenous.
fundaron la mayoría
So
en
most
los
of them
años
were
70.
founded in the years 1970s.
En los años 70,
And in the 1970 years, they participated in the foundation of anthropology. Margarita Nolasco,
Salomón Nanmán,
Salomón Nagmat,
bueno,
well,
Fernando Benítez,
Fernando Benítez.
había una atención especial.
There was a special
En
attention.
el periodo neoliberal
And during the neoliberal period,
desaparecieron
they
las
disappeared,
políticas
these politics,
para la atención a los pueblos indígenas.
for the attention for the
Entonces,
indigenous
es muy
people.
importante
So it's
regresar,
very important to return
ir
and
a
to
verlos,
see them
ir a ver a los
and see
yaquis,
the
como hicimos
yaquis,
este fin de semana,
like
a
we
los
did this
mayos,
weekend, and the
guarejillos,
Mayos and the
a
Guarejillos,
los seris.
so the Seris.
Entonces,
So therefore,
esa es
that
ahora la gira que
is
estoy
the
haciendo.
tour that I'm
Y
making now.
terminando
And when it
esa
ends,
gira,
this tour,
ya voy
I will
a
go
la
to
revisión de
the
obras.
revision of works.
Vamos a estar en Santa Lucía,
So we're going to
vamos a
be in
estar
Santa
en la región
Lucia,
de nuevo,
and we'll be there
vamos a
again,
estar en Dos Bocas,
and
vamos
we're
a
going to be
estar
in Dos
en
Bocas,
las plataformas,
in the
en los
platforms,
campos petroleros,
in the petroleum
vamos a
camps,
estar
and
en el
we're,
Tren Maya,
and we're going to be
vamos
at
a
the
estar en
train
el
Maya,
Istmo,
and we're going to
vamos a
go
estar
to the
donde
Istmo,
se están construyendo carreteras,
and we're going to go where they're making roads,
y así,
and like that,
constantemente.
constantly.
Por eso
And that is
hay que
why
ponernos de acuerdo.
we
Yo
got to
le voy
get
a
in
pedir a
agreement, and I'll ask
que
Jesus
se haga un planteamiento
to make some kind of
de
a
cómo
plan as to how
mantenemos la comunicación
to maintain the
sin
communication
riesgos,
without risks
cuidándonos,
and making sure you're taken care of
buscando que
and looking
no
for
haya accidentes.
that there not be accidents.
Gracias, presidente.
Thank you,
Buenos días,
Mr. President.
de la red de Círculo Digital.
Alejandro
Preguntarle, presidente, ¿cuál va a ser la
from
definición en este
Digital.
tema de
What's going
el
to be
apoyo
the
que se
thing
le da a los
regarding
medios de comunicación de los periodistas que
the money
ingresaron
that's
con
or
usted
support is
a
given
las
to
giras? Y
the
se lo planteo en el sentido de que
media
este
that
apoyo que se da de
goes with you?
traslado no es simplemente porque uno como periodista reciba una especie de dádiva, un trato especial, tiene que ver
So
también
is
con
there
el
some kind of
cumplimiento del
funds
artículo
and the
sexto
complements of
constitucional, que
the
es el derecho a la información. Es una forma
right to
de
information
facilitar el gobierno
to
el cumplimiento de
facilitate
ese
the
artículo.
government
Y, presidente, ¿cómo
to
garantizar también la
facilitate
seguridad
that
de nosotros cuando
compliance
hay
with that
ese tipo
mandate,
de giras? Porque
like to go with these
este
type of
caso del
tours,
sábado, este accidente,
because
viene
like this,
precedido de otros casos delicados.
this
En
could have
diciembre
been
nos
presided
extraviaron en las
or
selva, ahí en la
predecessors
zona
of
de Centla, que usted debe conocer bien, porque en vez de irnos
there
de
was
Campeche
in December
hacia
when they were
hacia
going to
Chiapas por Tabasco,
Campeche,
se metieron por la selva. Luego
so they went through
hubo
the
otro
jungle,
incidente
and there was
recientemente
another
en
incident
Oaxaca, chocó
in
una camioneta sin mayores
Oaxaca. There was a
problemas.
crash with
En Sinaloa se nos acabó la
Sinaloa.
gasolina
They
aquí en
ran
la
out of
carretera, una
gas
zona
on a road
bastante
that was
insegura. En
very
Chihuahua hace unos días
insecure. And
se
Chihuahua,
perdieron
there
la
was
zona
some
de la
lost
sierra.
in the zone of the
Diciembre en Nayarit
hills.
trasladaron a los colegas
In
en una
Nayarit,
camioneta pick-up con todos los
some were
riesgos
left.
que esto implica, presidente. Y a pesar de que
And
paga,
with all these risks
los municipios son los
that
que pagan
the
este tipo de
municipalities pay
vehículos,
for
sí hay
those
una
kind of vehicles,
corresponsabilidad de
is
la
there
presidencia
a
de la República. Y se lo digo también
corresponsibility
porque
by the
el sábado
President of the
fueron declaraciones de la gente de la propia
Republic
presidenta
Because
presidencia, se le informó al área de
they
logística, bueno,
informed
el
them
primer viernes
in
cuando
the
recogieron las dos
logistics
camionetas,
when
que
we
no
picked up
estaban
the
en muy
trucks
buen
that they
estado y
weren't in
dijeron,
good, very
de todas
good
maneras se las llevaron. El sábado ese día se
shape.
descompuso una de las
And then
camionetas nueva
Saturday
que
they had
chocó
another one
y
break down.
también es
And then
evidente la camioneta que chocó, las
the
llantas
one that
están
the one that
completamente
crashed, the
lisas.
tires were all
Entre todos estos incidentes
they
antes
had
de lo
no
que ocurrió el sábado,
tread.
platicamos con Jesús
So we
Ramírez
spoke to
para
Jesus Ramirez in order
proponerle
to
que
propose to
nosotros
them
podíamos pagar los
that maybe
medios,
we could pay the
la renta de las
media
camionetas
the
y
renting
que
of
se
the
rentaran unos
vehicles
vehículos
and maybe
en
rent
mejor
some
estado, en
vehicles
mejores
that were in
condiciones,
better
con choferes más aptos, más
state
capacitados.
and maybe somebody that was better
Y pues no hubo una
capacitated.
respuesta
And they
favorable.
had no
Le digo, nada
response
más
that was
ayúdenos
favorable.
con la logística, que la
So,
camioneta esté en el aeropuerto para que podamos movernos, porque
so they want
como
that
usted sabe, seguirlo en las giras es
that
sumamente complicado porque
that it's very
uno maneja
difficult for them
110, 100
to
kilómetros por hora y su
to
comitiva
keep up
siempre
with
va
him.
bastante más rápido,
And his
120,
team goes to about
130
at about
kilómetros por hora, no
120 and they can
podemos
only travel at
alcanzar, además
110, so it's
llegar a
hard for them
algunos
to
lugares
keep
es
up.
complicado y zonas
And then
peligrosas.
sometimes
Presidente,
difficult
cuando
zones for
fuimos
them
a
to
los
travel.
municipios guachicoleros
When we
en
went
Hidalgo
to
y
3
el Estado de México, por
municipalities
ejemplo, en
where they
febrero,
steal gas,
fuimos en un vehículo
and we
militar
were in a
precisamente
vehicle
por
that
el
was military,
riesgo que implicaba cuando
that
fuimos a
in
Ciudad de
all
Reynosa,
that
traíamos un
implies.
vehículo artillado
And we
del
had that
ejército
vehicle
protegiéndonos
from
adelante y
that
otro
we
a
had
la retaguardia
the
esquina era
military
artillado.
protecting us
Entonces,
from
presidente,
behind and ahead.
cómo lograr
So
sobre todo
how
la
are we
seguridad
gonna
de los
get the
periodistas? Porque
security for
parece
the
una
media
ironía que
personnel?
cubrir
Because it's an
la fuente presidencial
irony
también
to
ya se
cover
convirtió
the
en un riesgo para los
the
periodistas.
president has
Si me
now
puede
become a
responder,
risk for
presidente.
the
Sí, yo creo
media
que
workers.
ponerse de acuerdo con
Yes,
Jesús, hacer
I
un
think
plan.
we need to get
Ya no es
come in
como
agreement
antes,
with
Es
Gonzalez,
que antes
because it's not like it was
pues,
before.
había una atención
Because they
especial,
had a special attention.
se gastaba
They used to
mucho en
spend
eso.
lots of money on that.
Nosotros lo
And
que
we,
estamos procurando
what we try to do
es ahorrar
is to
en
save
todo.
in everything.
Yo
And
les
I
puedo
can tell
comentar
you and comment to you
que
that
cuando estábamos en la oposición
when
no
we were in the
nos
with the
cubría nadie
opposition, nobody covered us
durante años.
for years.
No había
The media didn't cover them,
en los actos nuestros.
and they didn't make it pay any attention. And there was no media
Tengo que
with us.
reconocer
But I
que
have to
durante mucho
recognize
tiempo en la
that
oposición
during
solo
a
nos
lot of
cubría
time, it would only cover us
la jornada
for the
del éxodo por la democracia.
exodus for the
Cubrió
democracy,
la jornada completa.
or they covered the whole thing.
Luego que nos roban la
And then
presidencia
they stole the presidency
y
from
empezamos
us.
a recorrer
And then
todo
we
el país,
started to
que
go
nada.
through the whole country.
Un periódico,
One periodical,
un periodista,
one
Helio,
media person,
Eleodoro
Eliodoro
Cárdenas,
Cárdenas.
sí, de Milén, no alcanzó a conocer todos los municipios.
He didn't get to see all the municipalities.
Sí, yo creo que
But I do believe
conoce
he does know
de Eleodoro como el 85%
about
de los municipios de México.
85% of the municipalities of Mexico. He's the only one.
Él padeció de un accidente,
And he had an accident
porque teníamos dos camionetas,
because we had two trucks,
adelante de atrás,
one in
y
the
la
front
de
and one in
atrás,
the back, and
que
in the
venía,
back one that was following.
no periodistas, sino
It was not newspaper people, but just people that were following or working with us.
y venía Helio,
And he was in
se
there.
volcó
And I just said,
de Costa Rica para acá,
so he took it from
por
Costa Rica to here,
Huachinango.
from Huachinango, the town.
Afortunadamente también no pasó nada.
Fortunately, nothing bad really happened.
Ahora
But
pues,
now
es distinto.
it's different.
En la campaña
In the campaign,
sí
there
se cubría
they did cover,
y se apoyaba con el transporte
and they supported with the travels
en la campaña.
during the campaign.
Entonces vamos a buscar la forma de resolverlo ahora.
So we're going to try to resolve it now,
Procuramos, a
but
mí hasta
we're trying to.
me molesta
Sometimes it even bothers me when I see
las caravanas.
the caravans.
Yo hice campaña
Because I did
con
my
dos
campaign
camionetas.
with just 2 trucks,
Éramos 4,
and there was 4 of us.
nada más.
Only that.
Y ahora
But now
me molesta de que
it bothers me
tantas camionetas.
that there's so
¿Por qué
many
tanto
vehicles.
gasto?
Because why so much
Es
expense?
distinto lo de la prensa. Estoy
It's
hablando de la
different
comitiva,
from the press. I'm
pero
talking
aquí
about the
aprovecho para,
committee,
te lo digo a ti, Puerta,
to
para
let
que
you
lo
know,
escuches tu ventana.
so that I'm saying it to the
No
door
me
so the
gusta.
window can hear. I don't like it.
Si van los presidentes
So
municipales,
if the municipal
cada presidente
presidents
municipal,
go,
su camionetona.
they have this big old truck,
Y a veces hasta con ayudantes.
and then they have helpers.
Mejor que se pongan de acuerdo los presidentes
Why don't they
municipales y
just
se vayan
get,
en un solo vehículo, ¿no?
why don't they get
Todos
in
juntos.
agreement and all go in one
Porque
vehicle?
los que tienen que ir,
Or that the ones that have to
evitemos
go, we can go,
el gasto.
so we
No
can
es el caso
take
de
the
los
expense.
periodistas.
It's not the
Hay
case
que
for
buscar
the
la forma de
periodicals
ponerse de
or
acuerdo.
media, but let's look for a
Quiero
way
decir
to
que le
get an
tengo
agreement.
toda la confianza
But just, I
a
need to let
Jesús
you know that I have
Ramírez,
all the confidence in Jesus Ramirez,
porque a veces hay
because sometimes
grilla,
there's grilla,
politiquería.
like politicking.
Entonces,
So therefore,
Jesús
Jesus,
es un hombre con
he's a
principios,
man
con
with
ideales, una
principles
gente
and
honesta,
ideals, an honest person
de lucha.
that struggles.
Descanso mucho en él.
I rest very
apoya
much with
mucho.
him. He supports me very much.
Jesús es mi brazo derecho.
Jesus is my right
Le
arm,
tengo toda la confianza.
and I have all the confidence.
Entonces, además,
So
fue
therefore,
periodista.
he also used to be a newspaper person.
Jesús fue director
He was the director
del periódico Regeneración.
of the periodical
que fue a tirar
Regeneration
a
that
15
had
millones de ejemplares
about 15 million examples.
por tiraje.
Tiraje.
Y fue
And
periodista
he was a
medios.
newspaperman in the media.
Y Jesús Cantú lo mismo.
And Jesus
Entonces,
Cantú
es
also.
cosa de que
So it's
se
a
pongan de
matter
acuerdo
of getting
se reúnan
in
y
agreement
se
and
defina qué hacer en este
meet and
Y desde luego,
define what you're going to
garantizar
do. And also
por
to
encima de todo la
guarantee
seguridad, garantizar
to
la
security.
seguridad. Yo también
And
cuido
also,
eso.
I am
Todos
cautious
cuidamos
with that,
eso.
and we all are cautious of that.
Los
Cautious of that.
traslados. Hay veces que tienen
Sometimes when
que
we
ir,
travel,
pues, a cierta velocidad,
we have to go at a
tampoco
certain speed,
tanta,
but not so fast.
como ven, voy leyendo, voy viendo
Like I'm
cosas,
reading
no
or
me
I'm
cuenta,
looking
ya
at
no me doy
something.
tanto cuenta.
Then
Para que,
sometimes I wasn't paying attention so that they
Pues sí
can
se
slow
calculan
down.
bien los tiempos
But we try
y
to
sí
calculate the
llegamos.
time
Nada más que no
well so that
podemos
we
hacer
arrive on time. But we
giras
cannot be
para estar en un acto,
doing these
en un
tours
día,
to be an act on one day
habiendo tantas cosas
when there's
pendientes.
so many pending things.
Entonces, y
So,
tantos municipios.
so there's
Entonces
so
tenemos que
many
aprovechar.
municipalities.
Si ya
So I have to
fuimos
take
a
advantage.
Sonora,
If we already went to Sonora,
pues vamos a Álamos,
we might as well go to
pues
Alamos.
Terminemos en Bahía de Quino,
And then we'll end in
hacemos
Valle
los
de
yaquis,
Quino,
hacemos
and
con
we'll
los
see the
mayos.
yaquis, the mayos,
Se aprovecha, pues,
and we can take advantage.
en el caso de,
In the
de
case
Sonora,
of Sonora,
pues ya nos encontramos
we
con los
then
grupos
find ourselves with the
indígenas
indigenous
del
groups of the state.
Nos faltó ir a Caborca,
And we still
pero,
needed to go to Caborca, but
bajaron
they came
representantes
down, some
del
representatives
norte
from the
de
north
Sonora.
of Sonora.
Entonces ahí
So
vamos.
there we go.
Se tiene que mantener esta
And we need to
gira
maintain this
para
tour
recoger los sentimientos
in
de la
order to
gente.
get the sentiments of the people, and that's my
Lo
job.
que tengo que seguir
And
haciendo.
that's what I have to continue doing.
Otra pregunta sobre la Ciudad de
So another
México.
question.
La semana pasada se reforma la
Last week
Constitución
there was a
para
reform
que, entre otras cosas,
regarding, among
procurador
other things,
del Distrito Federal pueda ser
the
la
federal
fiscal en la siguiente
district
etapa.
could be
Es
the
un poco lo que decía en la
uh,
discusión en el Congreso de la Ciudad de México, es la fiscal
what the
carnal, así
um,
decían textual. ¿Qué opina usted, presidente?
fiscal.
Sobre todo porque recuerdo que en 2016, me parece que fue en marzo, hizo una
See,
gira usted en
fiscal.
Washington y estando allá en la gira en Washington declaró en contra de la intención del
Oh,
gobierno
so
de
it's
Enrique Peña de
taxes.
hacer un
So
fiscal
it's
carnal también,
taxes.
que el procurador de aquel entonces
So
pasara a ser el
the one who
fiscal
took care of the
general
taxes,
de la República. ¿Qué
tax
le parece que
man,
está
I guess.
ocurriendo en la Ciudad de México? Sobre todo también
So what do you think
reforma
is
la
going on in
Constitución
Mexico
Morena
with the
y es el
reform with the
mismo Morena
Constitution?
que aprobó en
It's the same one that
2016 la
approved
nueva Constitución de la
the
Ciudad
new
de México. Es decir,
Constitution.
de cuando eran oposición
So
a
from
cuando
when they
son
were
gobierno
to
cambiaron
opposition, they changed
completamente su
their
postura. ¿Qué le
completely their
parece, presidente, que
position.
ha aprobado una
What do you think that
reforma
they
aquí en la ciudad
approved?
para abre la posibilidad para una fiscal carnal, si me permite la expresión que se usó en el Congreso? Gracias, presidente.
Something
Pues
about
eso es
the
algo que
taxes.
debe de responder la jefa de gobierno.
So the chief of government
También en
needs
eso,
to
en ese caso,
deal with that.
puedo decir que
I can also say in that
se me
case
hace
that I think
desproporcionada la
it's
comparación,
disproportionate, this
con todo
comparison, with all respect.
porque lo que
Because
se quiso hacer,
what we tried to do,
no sé si se hizo
or it was done,
en el sexenio pasado,
during the 6-year term
pues sí estaba
past,
más complicado
it was more complicated
en lo relacionado con
when
la
it's
Procuraduría.
related
No sé
to
si
the
sea el mismo
procurement.
caso.
I don't know if it's the same case, but
Hay que verlo,
we have to look at it.
pero desde luego que son situaciones distintas.
Of
No
course,
somos
that's a
iguales,
different case.
no somos iguales,
We're not the same.
porque eso sí calienta.
Because that does make him
Y
angry.
yo creo que Claudia Sheinbaum puede dar una explicación sobre este tema. Yo no estoy tan involucrado, tan enterado.
I'm not
Sí
so
tengo
involved.
que saber de todo, pero pues son
I'm
cosas
sorry,
que
I'm having a cough
corresponden
attack here.
al gobierno de la ciudad.
But it has to do
Sí
with the
sé de
governor
Claudia
of the state.
y sé
And I
de
know
Ernestina Godoy,
Ernestina
y
Godoy,
las dos
and both of them
son mujeres
are women that
de
are
primera,
first rate,
íntegras,
integral,
de lucha,
fighters,
honestas.
honest.
Ernestina
Ernestina
tiene una trayectoria
has a trajectory
en la oposición,
with the opposition,
en el gobierno,
with the government,
destacadísima.
that stands out.
Ustedes saben que
Did you know
cuando
that
yo integro el gobierno,
when I took over the government,
en el 2000,
I mean,
hace casi 20 años,
when I entered the government in
pues
2000,
sí, para la jefatura de gobierno, yo quería a Ernestina como consejera jurídica.
when I entered, I wanted Ernestina as the counselor for the jury, and I looked for her to let her know,
Porque venía de
because
el
she used to come
movimiento
from the
de
movement
abogados democráticos.
of Democratic attorneys.
Y
And
me dijo, sí, yo no
she
tengo
told me,
problema.
yes, but I have
No
one
me he
problem.
titulado.
I haven't gotten my
Está impedida.
title. I'm still pending.
Por eso
And that is
propuse
why
a
it produces,
una compañera del
ah,
mismo equipo
I
de
introduced
los
one
abogados
from
democráticos que se
another
llama
girl.
Estela Ríos,
Then we had
que
this
fue
girl from
la
Estela
consejera
Rios,
jurídica
which
en mi gobierno.
was a
Pero
counselor during
estoy
my
hablando de hace
government.
20 años.
But I'm talking about 20 years
Ya
ago.
estaba por recibirse,
And she was about to,
tituló, y
and she got her
desde entonces a
title,
la fecha, pues, ha estado de diputada federal,
and she's worked as a
diputada
federal
local,
deputy,
siempre
and she's always
en la lucha por la justicia,
been
por la
fighting for
democracia,
justice, for democracy.
y es una mujer honesta,
And
sin
she's
duda,
an honest woman, without a
igual
doubt.
que
Same as
Claudia Sheinbaum.
Claudia
Y si
Sheinbaum.
dicen, ¿cómo es?
And if they
¿La
ask,
procuradora qué?
how is she,
La fiscal carnal,
La fiscal
como
carnal.
decía el debate
Ah.
de la oposición.
Está muy bien dicho eso.
he says
Porque
it's
son,
very well said,
compañeras.
because they're partners.
Yo también, o sea, es mi fiscal carnal, ella
Yeah,
también,
she's
porque
my fiscal
somos
brother,
compañeros, o sea,
because
del mismo equipo,
we're friends
hemos
from the
luchado
same,
durante mucho
we've
tiempo,
worked many years and fought many
y
years together.
para mí es un orgullo,
And for
porque,
me, it's a prideful thing
Claudia
to have Claudia
Sheinbaum de jefe de
Sheinbaum
gobierno,
as the chief of government.
es un tema de orgullo,
It's
y
a
lo
matter
mismo
for
Ernestina Godoy.
pride.
Pero hay que
And
ver
the same with
cómo
Ernestina
estuvo lo
Godoy.
de la reforma legal.
But let's see about that legal reform.
Que fuera Ernestina Godoy la procuradora, eso
Yo no sé,
plantearon
es que
la discusión.
no sé si es por eso.
I don't know if
O
it's
sea,
because of that
eso
Ernestina
lo va a
Godoy,
resolver
that's going to have to be resolved by
Claudia.
Claudia.
No sé si ya se nombró legalmente.
And I don't know if
No
she's
tengo,
already been named legally, and I don't have that,
elementos.
the elements on that.
Pero sí conozco
But
a
I
las
do
dos
know
y
the two ladies,
le contesto de
and I
Ernestina,
can tell you
pues es
regarding Ernestina that it's
desde
real.
hace 20 años.
It's been 20 years.
Y en 20 años
And in 20
es
years,
la misma
it's the
Ernestina.
same Ernestina as
No.
always.
Se enriqueció.
She did not get rich.
O sea, no es corrupta.
She's not corrupt.
¿Cómo no voy a tener confianza en ella?
How would I not have confidence in her?
Muy buenos, santos y bendecidos días. Presidente y todos los aquí
Very good
presentes.
day to all of
Gracias
you
desde Mexicali, Baja California, Edgar
and people
Ponce,
from
Canal
Mexicali,
66 y Canal 44
Channel
de Ciudad Juárez, Chihuahua.
66.
Después de los incendios
After
en
the
Tijuana, Tecate,
fires in
Rosarito y
Tijuana,
Ensenada,
Rosarito, and
donde se
Ensenada,
perdieron 3 vidas,
where they
más de
lost
5
3
personas
lives
lesionadas,
and more than
más de 14,000 hectáreas
more than
dañadas
1,400
en Baja
hectares were
California,
damaged.
había únicamente 26 elementos de CONAFOR.
There was only
Sabemos que
26
ya hay un
elements
acuerdo de
from
palabra para
CONAFOD.
apoyar a las más de 600
We know
familias
that
que
they're
se quedaron
supposed to
sin hogar
support
allá en la frontera, en Baja California. Pero también sabemos que se hizo un recorte
but we also
en
know that there
CONAFOR,
was some kind of
por más de 1,229 millones de pesos.
about several million
No es
pesos.
todo lo que sucede en Baja
But that's
California.
not
No
all
sé si el
that's going
delegado
on
federal,
in
haya
Baja
pasado
California.
reportes, pero
There was some
ante esta
reports
incertidumbre de los apoyos,
with this
también se
uncertainty
sigue
with the
batallando
support.
para que le paguen a los maestros activos,
It's still
jubilados,
difficult
pensionados, y desde
to
agosto
get
no
the
se le paga a los
teachers
maestros
paid,
interinos.
and they haven't
No hay
paid
dinero en Baja California.
in Baja California. They
Manifiesta el
haven't
gobernador.
paid the
Ya se
teachers,
dijo también que el gobierno
and they
federal
also
va a
said that the
absorber,
federal government
los
will be
apoyos
absorbing the
para los
support
recursos de los
for the resources
inmigrantes,
for the immigrants,
y más de 50,000
and more than
van en este año,
50,000
y más de 15,000 que están
and more than
esperando asilo
15,000
político
that are
o un
waiting for a
procedimiento en los
political
Estados Unidos.
assignment
No
with
hay
the
dinero tampoco,
U.S.
dice el gobierno del estado. Un número considerable de adultos mayores no sabe dónde está el apoyo
So
para
they don't know
ellos.
where the support is for
Señor
them.
presidente, los bajacalifornianos
So, Mr.
ya
President,
no
the
creen
Baja
los discursos
California
del gobierno
people
del estado
don't
y
believe
están
the
muy lejos
discourse of the
las
governors,
muestras de apoyo del gobierno
and
federal.
it's very
No
far
se
with
sienten,
the,
no se perciben.
we don't perceive
No
the
podemos
federal
esperar a que
government
se
is
vaya
helping.
Francisco Vega del
We
gobierno del
can't
estado,
wait
los
for Francisco Vea
bajacalifornianos,
to leave
para que se nos
so that
apoye.
we can start getting
¿Qué le,
help.
qué le contesta a los
What do you
bajacalifornianos
answer
que tienen
to the
estas
Californians that are
necesidades?
having these needs?
Pues que estamos apoyando.
That
Yo
we are
tengo una
supporting. Oh
información
my
distinta.
gosh, I didn't
¿Cómo
realize
es que
this
se
went
dice?
away.
Tengo otros datos.
I'm sorry. He says, I have
Eh,
other data. Oh my gosh, I was
Durante el
listening.
tiempo
Where
de
is it?
los incendios que
So during the
todavía
fires
se mantienen
that were still
en un
maintained
10%,
at 10%,
porque ya se han apagado
and they were already
un 90%
put off about 90%,
en Ensenada
and
y
in
en
Senada,
Tecate,
and in
que fue donde
that's
afectaron
where
más.
it was affected the
Y en
most.
efecto, se perdieron
And in
3
fact,
vidas,
they did lose
Eh,
3 lives,
2 por quemaduras y
2
una
due to burns,
vida por asfixia.
and 1 to
Tengo todo el
asphyxiation.
informe.
I have all that information.
Estuve pendiente de todo
And
lo
I was
operativo,
pending to the whole, paying attention to that whole operation,
los elementos de
independent of the
la
elements
comisión,
of the commission,
para la conservación
for the conver-
forestal,
for the forest conservation,
trabajó el ejército,
the military
se
worked,
desplegó
and it took off.
la Marina,
The Marines
la
arrived.
Guardia Nacional,
National Guard were sent,
se actuó
and they acted.
pronto,
They acted
no
well.
se descuidó
They did not
el problema
let the problem
del
go
incendio.
regarding
Tengo
the
las
fire.
pruebas
I have
de
the
lo que le estoy
evidence
diciendo.
of what I'm telling
Por
you,
eso
and that is why
se redujo
it was reduced
pronto el incendio,
quickly,
se
this fire,
apagaron
and they turned it
los
off,
fuegos,
the fires.
el fuego. Esa es la información que yo tengo.
And that
Bueno,
is the information that I have.
hasta el gobernador lo
So
reconoció
even the governor understood it
y tengo también
and recognized it, and
manera de probar,
I also have a way to prove that,
porque es nuestra responsabilidad.
because it is our
cumplimos.
responsibility to comply.
Acerca de lo
So,
de los maestros está
related to the
atendiendo,
teachers we're
es
attending,
un asunto
it's a matter
parecido
that is
al que expuso,
similar to the one that I exposed
de falta de recursos
regarding the lack of resources, that they're not having
al
enough,
gobierno,
the government from the state.
pero no le debe
But-
la federación.
But the federal government doesn't owe them anything.
O sea,
That is to say,
estamos al corriente.
we are current.
Nosotros
we've paid them what
hemos transferido los fondos
we've
que
already
corresponden
transferred the
de
funds that they
conformidad
were
con la
supposed to
ley. Si
get
no
according to
alcanza,
the law. And if they don't have enough,
es por lo que
it's because of
planteé.
what I mentioned.
Entonces,
So
se
therefore,
está atendiendo
we're
también
attending
el
to
asunto.
that matter as well.
Hace 15 días
And it's
estuve
been
en San
15
Quintín
days, and I was in San Quintín,
y fui
and I went
a decirles
to let
que
them
se
know
va a ampliar el hospital
that we're going to amplify the
de San
hospital
Quintín.
in San Quintín.
También
And also,
no recibí quejas
I didn't
de que los
receive
adultos
complaints
mayores
that the elder
estén,
adults were not getting
obteniendo
or obtaining their
apoyos,
funds
sus pensiones.
or their pensions.
Tengo la información de que todos,
I have the information that all of them are getting it.
la mayoría, pero de
The
todas
majority
maneras
of
lo
them.
vemos. Porque el asunto de los migrantes se está atendiendo también. Hay una disminución
There's a few
considerable en
that
toda la frontera
there's been a
del
diminishment in
número
the
de migrantes.
number of immigrants.
Hay una reducción
There's a
en
reduction
4 o 5 meses
in 4 to 5 months
de migrantes.
of that migrants,
Va a informarles pronto
and you will
El
soon be
secretario de
informed by the
Relaciones
Secretary of
Exteriores, el
Foreign
equipo.
Relations, the team,
de lo que pasaba en junio cuando
what
se
used to
desató
happen in June when it
esta
took
crisis
off with
a
this
la fecha
crisis to the
es
date.
totalmente distinto.
It's totally different.
Ya podemos decir
And now
que
we
se
can say
normalizó la situación
that the
migratoria.
situation normalized the migration situation.
El
I'm referring
tránsito
to
por
the
nuestro país de
transiting
migrantes
or coming
es
into the
completamente.
country.
Por
It's
eso le digo,
different
tengo otra
completely.
información,
I have
otros
different
datos.
information, different data.
Tengo la información
And the information I have
de
also
que
that
llegó un acuerdo
they came to an
para
agreement
tratar las aguas de Tijuana,
in order to deal with the waters in
que
Tijuana,
es un acuerdo
that they've come to an
entre
agreement
los dos países.
between the two
Se
countries
van a poner plantas de
that
tratamiento
they're going to put
de
treatment
aguas
plants
ahora.
for water.
Sí,
Yes,
es una inversión
that's an
autorizada de
investment that
200
was
millones de pesos
authorized
para Tijuana.
for 200 million, and I'm taking the advantage to tell you,
El gobierno de Estados Unidos
the
la mitad,
the
nosotros
U.S. government
la
is
otra
going to put
mitad.
half, and we're putting the other half.
Está funcionando el
And it is,
programa
the program is functioning
de estímulos
for the stimulus
para las ciudades fronterizas,
for the border
la
state
disminución
or
del
cities,
IVA, del
the
impuesto sobre
the
la renta,
decrease of the taxes
el
and the
aumento del
taxes on
salario
the
mínimo al
rent,
doble,
and they've doubled the salaries.
en fin,
So in
estamos atendiendo
we're attending it all,
la frontera, estamos
the
atendiendo
whole
en todo el país.
borderline and the
Nada
whole
más por
country.
último,
And the
eh,
last thing,
bueno, ayer
well,
le
yesterday
gusta el béisbol. Los
I like
Águilas
baseball,
tuvieron el juego más largo
and
de
the
la liga,
Águilas had the
45-22 entradas
longest
con Cañeros de los Mochis.
thing
Y saber
in
si
Los
van a la
Mochis.
toma de protesta de
And
Jaime
I want to
Murillo.
know if you're going to be going to the
No estoy
protest.
asistiendo.
No, I'm not going to assist.
Los actos se toma
The acts of
posesión de los
take
gobernadores.
the positions of the governors,
Eso
because
le corresponde
that
a la
belongs
licenciada
to the
Olga Sánchez
attorney
Cordero,
Olga Sanchez Cordero,
la secretaria de Gobernación.
the Secretary of
Ella me está
Governing,
representando
and she is being represented.
Estas ceremonias
These
cívicas
civic
importantes.
ceremonies,
Desde luego, yo les mando siempre mi felicitación a los que
and
entran y también mi saludo y respeto
and I'm saying
a los
hello
que se van.
to my salutations and respect to the ones that are coming and then also to the ones that are
Lo que
leaving,
hicieron,
and to
aún
appreciate
cuando
what
haya
they did,
polémica,
even when there was
porque
problems,
así es esto,
because that's the way these things go.
no se es monedita de oro,
It's not a little simple golden
este noble oficio
coin,
de la
this
política. Entonces,
noble office of
va a ir
working
la
in
licenciada
politics.
Olga Sánchez Cordero.
So Olga Sanchez Cordero is going to deal with it.
Bueno,
Presidente, buenos días. Juan Carlos
So
Manzano, del
President,
portal Expo. Presidente, acaba de
regarding
entrar en
Xbook
funcionamiento la NOM 035,
and the functions of
donde empresas
UNAM,
y gobierno tienen que
where
cuidar la
the
salud y el estrés de
government
su
and they
personal.
have to take
En
care of
este
their
caso,
personal.
pues, el gobierno que usted encabeza,
So the
¿cómo está
government,
haciendo o
how
cómo va a
is
hacer
it
esta
doing it?
labor
How are
de
they going to
cuidar
do this
a su
labor
personal?
of
Y
taking
también,
care
¿cuál
of
sería
your
su llamado a las
personnel
empresas? En este caso,
and the
tenemos el ejemplo, bueno,
companies,
los compañeros que
like the
lamentablemente
people that
tuvieron este accidente.
had this
pues
accident?
hay que cuidarnos todos.
We all need to take care of each other.
Ya lo dije,
And I've said it
lo
before,
repito, es muy
and I
importante
repeat
la
it, it's very
alimentación,
important to eat well,
cuidar la alimentación,
to take care of your
porque
food, because
no comer
make
demasiado
sure
es
not to
comer
eat too
mejor.
much, it's to eat better.
Y pues tener una
And to have
alimentación
a
equilibrada
diet that's well balanced
de proteínas,
with proteins,
de carbohidratos,
with carbohydrates,
de vitaminas.
with
Son
vitamins.
los tres componentes.
Those are the three components.
Y comer lo más natural que se pueda.
And eat the most natural things that you can.
Regresar
And to return
a la dieta
to the
de
diet
antes,
of before.
muchos casos,
In lots of
el
cases,
frijol,
the
el
beans,
maíz,
the corn, the grain.
maíz y frijol
So corn
es de lo mejor.
and beans is like the best thing.
Se pensó de que
They used to think that
las tortillas
tortillas,
eran
that,
malas,
that they were bad for health, that you shouldn't eat too many tortillas.
El frijol, proteína,
But tortillas are actually very healthy, and beans are
cuidar
very
la
healthy.
alimentación,
And to take care of your health and
hacer
nutrition,
ejercicio,
and to do exercise
lo más que se pueda,
as much as you can,
caminar,
to walk,
caminar,
to walk and walk and walk.
eso ayuda mucho.
That helps a lot.
Además,
And
quita
besides that,
estrés.
it takes away stress.
Yo cuando puedo y voy
When I
a
can,
practicar
I go practice
al campo,
to
al
the
béisbol,
fields, to baseball,
a practicar béisbol,
to practice baseball. Imagine
con el bat,
with a bat,
veo la pelotita,
and I see that little ball,
le pego durísimo,
and I hit it really
yo
hard,
me desquito,
and then I get it out of my system.
ahí me quito el estrés,
And there I get rid of my stress.
estoy en otras cosas,
And then I get into other
y
things,
no angustiarse,
and I don't get worried, anxious.
sereno,
I stay serene or stay serene.
no
Stay
excitarse.
tranquil. Don't excite
Despacio.
yourselves.
Eh,
Go
y
slow.
desde luego tener la conciencia
And of
tranquila.
course, having your conscience
Eso
clear,
ayuda mucho.
that helps a lot.
El estrés viene
The
también
stress comes also from
de portarse mal.
from behaving badly.
¿Cómo no va a estar estresado
How wouldn't you be
alguien que está
stressed out?
robando?
Someone who's stealing,
O sea, más en esta etapa,
especially during this phase,
se les puede caer
because it could fall
y al tambo.
and then they'd go in jail.
Entonces, hay que buscar eso, ¿no?
So let's look at that
Y entender que la
and
felicidad,
understand that
lo que siempre
happiness,
digo,
as I've always
no es
said,
acumular bienes
is not to
materiales,
accumulate
riquezas,
financial
ni estar bien con
wealth,
uno mismo,
and it's
con
to be
nuestra
good with
conciencia y con
ourselves,
el
with our
prójimo,
conscience, with our neighbors,
un estilo de vida
a
distinto,
style of life
diferente,
that's different.
Hacer a un lado o que no sea
To set
el
aside
fin
or not have it be the end
último,
or this last thing,
el acumular riquezas,
to accumulate
los
riches
lujos.
or luxury.
Eso ayuda mucho.
That helps a lot.
Si se actúa con humildad,
If you act with humility,
pues entonces se tiene la conciencia
then your conscience
tranquila.
will be tranquil.
Si se tiene para lo básico,
And if you have for the basic necessities,
para lo necesario,
what's necessary,
que no se está pensando,
if you're not
imagínense, un
constantly
ambicioso,
thinking like someone who's ambitious,
que nada más le importa el
that
dinero,
all they think about is
No
money,
duermen.
that's all that's important to
No
them. They can't
descansan.
sleep, they can't rest,
eso hace daño
and that's not
a
healthy
la salud.
to you.
Hay países
There's countries
en donde
where
los que apuestan a la bolsa,
the ones that bet on the
por ejemplo,
interest rates, or
y se cae la bolsa,
and then if the interest rate drops,
los apostadores
then the ones who were investing or betting,
se infartan.
they have heart attacks, infarcts.
Sí, se suicidan.
Yes, they commit suicide.
Imagínense eso.
Imagine that.
Entonces,
So therefore,
hay que
we've got
estar
to
en calma,
stay calm,
tranquilos.
tranquil.
Una segunda pregunta, si me lo
So a
permite.
second question, if you
Usted ha
permit
llamado
me.
en ocasiones a que
On occasions, you
el sector
made a call
empresarial
out
debe
that the impresario
actuar de forma
or the
ética. Las personas,
businesses
y el tipo de trabajo
should
que va a llegar
act
a
in
la
an
presidencia de
ethical way.
Argentina, también ha mencionado que se
The
tiene que tener un sector empresarial que, valga la redundancia, solo obtenga utilidades razonables. ¿Cómo
So
nota
there's-
usted que tiene que ser esta relación empresas
So what
con
about the
gobiernos
relations
emanados de
with
la izquierda en
companies
Latinoamérica? Gracias.
and governments
Bueno, en el
in
caso de
Latin
México,
America?
yo
In the
pienso
case of Mexico, I think
la responsabilidad mayor la
that
tiene el
the
gobierno.
major responsibility is with the government. Like, let me give you an example.
El problema
Regarding the
tenía
problem that they used to have,
era que el gobierno daba el mal ejemplo.
that the government used to give a bad example.
Y entonces
And
ya
then
no se tenía autoridad
they had no moral authority
para pedir a los demás
so then they
un
couldn't
recto proceder.
ask them to act correctly.
Si el funcionario público se metía a los
If the
negocios,
public workers got involved in businesses,
pues entonces
then
estaba permitido que todos lo hicieran. Y al
then it was
funcionario
permitted
público
for
solo le
everyone
debe
to do it.
interesar
And so public workers should only be
negocios
interested
públicos.
in public works or businesses.
Eso no sucedía.
And that's not what was happening.
Si hay rectitud en el gobierno,
If there's
entonces sí,
correctness in the
se tiene
government,
autoridad moral
and then you'll have
para
moral
pedir
authority in order to ask
un recto proceder a todos.
for everyone to act
Y
correctly
así lo están
and
entendiendo los
perceiving
empresarios,
everyone. And so
lo
now
están
businessmen
entendiendo
are understanding it.
todos
And all of them, everyone's understanding.
que tienen que ver con el gobierno,
Those
que
that
tienen
have
relación
dealings
con el
with
gobierno,
or relations with the government,
proveedores,
providers,
contratistas,
contractors,
y ya lo hemos dicho,
and I've said it before,
contratista que se vaya
contractors.
con el anticipo
If they,
de una
if,
obra,
if they, any contractor takes the
aquí
money
se le va.
that was
Le
given,
vamos a dar su premio como el que se
if
les da a
someone
los
takes the
que
funds that were
cobran
given in
más por la
advance,
gasolina.
they'll,
Y a ver
they will
cómo
be,
se va a quitar eso.
they will,
¿Qué le
the
va a decir a su
people will
familia?
be informed.
¿Qué
And
le va
how
a
will,
decir a
what
sus
will he
hijos?
say to his family and his children?
Porque antes eso
Because
se
before
aplaudía.
they used to applaud it.
Qué hábil,
Oh, he's so
qué
smart.
vivillo.
How smart
Ya
he is.
transó.
He already took advantage.
Ya le ganó al
He
gobierno.
tricked him.
Ya le ganó al
He
fisco.
he won the government. He won the tax man. He beat the tax man.
Eso ya no se va
That is
a
no
permitir.
longer permitted.
Obras inconclusas,
Works that were not finished,
obras entregadas a quienes no tienen experiencia en
and
construcción,
jobs that were given to people who had no
y les daban los
experience in construction, and so they had
políticos de
friends,
medicina.
and
¿Qué
they would
pueden
get the jobs.
saber
And
de eso?
politicians selling medications, what do they know about that?
Entonces, si eso se termina,
If that ends,
pues vamos
then we'll
avanzar mucho
advance a lot
en México.
in Mexico.
Y en cada país
And in every
tienen que,
case,
sacar sus
they will
definiciones.
get their own definitions.
Lo que sí
But what I
es
can
que la
say
corrupción
is that corruption
destruye, es un
destroys. It's a cancer.
y hay que desterrarla.
And we need to unearth it.
De eso no hay.
Of that, there
Duda.
is no doubt.
Y cuesta
And-
trabajo,
And it's difficult. It's
pero
hard.
se puede.
But it can be
Se
done.
puede
And
en el caso de México
it can in the case of
por
Mexico
dos razones.
for many
Primero,
reasons. First of all,
Porque existe una voluntad
because there exists a
política
will, a
a
political
no
will,
permitir la corrupción.
to not permit corruption.
Estamos
And we are
decididos
decided
a acabar con la
to
corrupción.
end corruption.
Yo
I
quisiera que
wish
recuerden así
that you could remember like that
al gobierno,
the government,
que fue el gobierno
that it was the government
encargado de
that was in
acabar
charge
con la corrupción
of ending corruption
en la historia.
in
Porque
history.
son pocos
Because
los periodos de
there's few
honestidad que han
periods
habido en la historia
where
de México.
that were like this in the history of Mexico.
Muy pocos.
Very little.
Les adelanto.
I can tell you a little
del libro.
something ahead regarding
¿Saben
the
cómo
ISA.
empiezo el libro?
You know how I started my book?
Contando
I
de
counted.
que cuando la
I
conquista,
accounted that during the conquest
Cortés
of Cortés,
se autonombra
it's
sin
self-named
ningún fundamento legal,
without any legal foundation.
alcalde,
They named him a
autoridad en Veracruz,
mayor, the
y
authority in
jefe
Veracruz,
del ejército invasor.
and chief of the invading
Y
military.
cuando se reparte
And when they spread things out,
el tesoro de Moctezuma,
the treasure from Montezuma,
dicho por Bernal Díaz del Castillo,
it was during the
Que vino
days
de
of
soldado.
10th of
y es el
Castillo.
gran historiador.
He was a great
de la
historian of the
Cuando se
conquest.
reparte,
And when they spread
Ya.
out the money, where
se había menguado
they had already
el tesoro.
taken
Porque
all
ya se
the
habían
treasure,
quedado antes
the one they had already taken,
con la mayor parte.
They had already taken the majority of it.
Cortés y sus
Cortés
capitanes.
and his captains.
Y lo que le toca a los soldados
And what the soldiers got
ya es muy poco.
was very little.
En la colonia,
In the
Lo mismo.
colonial,
la corrupción.
same thing with corruption.
Y pongo algunos datos.
And I can give you, and I do
El
give a
medio
few data.
independiente,
The independent
Imagínense.
media, imagine Santana,
11
Imagine
veces
that.
presidente de
11 times president of Mexico.
¿Cuándo brilla la honestidad?
So when did the honesty
reforma.
go in? During the reform.
En la República restaurada,
The-
en los 10 años
within
de
The restored republic
de Juárez y de Lerdo.
during Juarez and Lerdo
Porque
reign,
los liberales de la reforma
because the liberals of the reform
surcían sus uniformes.
they used to wear the uniforms.
Entregaban
They
buenas
used to
cuentas.
sew them themselves, and they used to give good accountability, correct accounting, not lying, truthful.
Viene el porfiriato
And then Porfirias
De nuevo
though
la
comes
corrupción.
in again. Corruption comes in
en alta,
way high,
los negocios,
and the businesses
la entrega de las concesiones para el petróleo,
they started giving concessions for
los
petroleum.
negocios con los ferrocarriles,
They gave businesses to the
Con las tierras.
railways with the lands.
no pudo la revolución con
The
eso.
revolution could not handle it,
Siguió,
and
la
they
corrupción.
continued with corruption.
continuó.
It continued.
Acuérdense de lo
Rem-
que contaba Obregón,
Remember what Obregón used to say?
que
That
cuando le quitaron el brazo
they took off his
en la
arm
batalla de Celaya,
during the Battle of Celaya
en el enfrentamiento con los villistas, no
with
encontraron
the
su brazo.
confrontation of Villas,
Que un amigo
Pancho
que
Villa.
lo conocía muy bien,
So someone said to him, a friend who knew him very well, he brought out
un azteca,
a one piece of a coin
una
or,
moneda, y la alzó.
called Azteca, and
y
he
vino el brazo
and he says that the arm
para
came
agarrar el azteca,
and it came and got the money,
y así recuperó su brazo.
and that's how he recovered his arm.
Y luego, pues,
And then of course,
ya saben
you
qué
know
pasó
what
con los
happened
sexenios Méndez,
during the 6
otros
years.
más.
Some more, some less.
Pero nada, nada,
But
nada,
nothing,
ya lo dije al
nothing,
inicio de
as I said at the
esta conferencia,
during the
se
beginning of
compara
this conference, I said
con el saqueo
that nothing compares
que se desató
with the looting that took off
en el periodo neoliberal.
during the neoliberal period.
No hay precedente.
There is no president.
Entonces,
So then,
imagínense
imagine
lo importante
how
para México,
important it is for Mexico,
para todos los
for
mexicanos,
all Mexicans,
el que podamos
that
decir,
we would be able to say
la cuarta transformación
with the
significó
fourth transformation meant
acabar con la
to
corrupción.
end corruption.
Y ahí sí ya, me voy
And
contento
then I'll leave happily
a Palenque.
to Palenque. That's where his home is.
Y ese es el propósito.
And
Y
that
lo
is the
vamos a
purpose,
lograr.
and we are going to gain it. We're going to do it.
Y esto va a permitir
And this will permit
el renacimiento de México.
the rebirth of Mexico.
Porque si no hay corrupción,
Because
hay
if there's no
presupuesto.
corruption, there's enough budget.
Alcanza el presupuesto.
The budget will be sufficient.
No hace falta aumentar impuestos.
There is no need to
ni
raise
crear
taxes
impuestos nuevos,
or create new
ni endeudar al
taxes
país.
or put the country in debt.
Lo que más dañó
What was
a la
most
Revolución Mexicana,
damaging
lo que tronchó la
during
vida
the Mexican
Revolución
Revolution
fue
was
la deshonestidad de los
dishonesty
gobernantes.
of the government,
Y
of the
el
governors.
último periodo
And during this last period, it was the
nefasto.
nefarious.
Imagínense
Imagine
presidentes
presidents
que privatizaron,
that
que
privatized,
entregaron bienes
that sold goods that belonged to the nation. And then they went to work with the companies that had the benefit of the privatizations. But presidents and secretaries of the Treasury and directors of the Federal Electrical Company, they mix together everything. The political power with the economical power. That is what will not be permitted. And that is what's going to give us the opportunity of taking into effect this change.
¿Qué tal, presidente? Buenos días.
So, hello, Mr. President. From Reforma, I want to ask you about investigation regarding the intelligence agency. Some electrical magistrate, Jose Luis Vargas, because recently there was a suspicious increase in his like how much money he made or what he owns compared to what he earns and his account. And during a crucial year, during the when they weren't supposed to, you know, have their fun. If the intelligence agency of finances has the information, of course it'll run its course and it'll get to the attorney general, the attorney the attorney of the republic. I haven't had a chance to have the audience. Santiago Nieto, because he asked me if he wanted to. I might see him this week, but every time we talk, and it has to do with. I don't have any information regarding this in particular. Perhaps it has elements of. That it needs to be dealt with the legal authorities, and they need to see where the funds came from. And so here it applies as to where the funds came from. There's things you can't hide. And one of them is money. You can't hide it. You can't. So, no matter how many fiscal paradises you have, it is very difficult to hide. So, in fantoche, fantoche. So the corrupt people, what do they do? It's their style. Puppet, fantoche, to buy residences and apartments in foreign places. Or they deposit money in foreign banks and funds in the foreign places. But now, due to the agreement within the nations and the government to combat money laundering, there's a lot of information, and it is very difficult for someone, for it not to be known. So therefore, if there's those type of movements of accounts, then you have to investigate it. So what magistrate is? Jose Luis Vargas Valdez. So I didn't know about that. But not to talk about him now. Yes, that doesn't mean that if we talk
Eso
about it here, that means that he's
tiene que
actually
demostrarse.
guilty.
Eh,
It has to be
no
demonstrated.
podemos nosotros
We cannot
utilizar
utilize
juicios sumarios, ¿no?
summary judgments
Para desacreditar a
in order
personas
to
que
discredit someone that
no
if they don't,
cometieron ilícitos.
if
Hay
they
que
didn't
ver
commit
de qué
illicit
se
acts.
trata.
So we
Saber,
have to see what it's dealing with. You know,
qué
something.
es un buen referente,
What
la
is a good
cantidad.
referral is the
Pero
amount.
cuando es así
Like if it's something
de millones,
like millions,
pues ahí sí ya no hay
then there's no way,
duda.
there's no doubt.
Porque pues
Because
mucho que gane,
no matter how much he earns,
no alcanza para
there's no way
ahorrar tanto.
he could save that much.
¿Cuánto es
Los
este
informes
caso?
que se
What is the
consultaron,
amount?
aumentó su patrimonio
His
4 veces.
Patrimony increased
sus
4
ingresos
times
anuales.
it's what it
Sí,
used to
hay
be.
que verla.
Sí,
So
Es-
yeah, we
hay
have
que
to look
buscar
at it.
la
So
forma de que
in other words, his
este,
resources,
se
his reserves
conozca
are
el
very
asunto.
4 times
Usted
what
ha
they
enfatizado
were.
en revisar casos de corrupción en el Poder
So
Judicial y
what
hasta ahora
about
los casos
reviewing?
más llamativos han sido los de jueces, digamos, de
So
asuntos
it
penales.
looks like
pero
it has to do with the judges that deal with penal
caso
situations.
de,
So this
de
is
corrupción de jueces electorales. podría
so
ser.
this is the first time
Es
they've
que-
had an electoral judge that
Debe de haber
of course there is.
también
There must be also
en lo electoral.
in the electoral
Porque
because
han
there's been some
resuelto asuntos
they've resolved some things
muy
that
controvertidos.
are very controversial.
Nosotros hemos padecido eso.
We've suffered that,
Y puede ser
and it could be
por fobia,
due to phobias
por diferencias políticas,
or due to
ideológicas, partidistas.
party
Pero
ideological
si no es por eso,
political differences. But if it's not for that,
si no suena lógico, suena
but if it
metálico.
doesn't sound logical, it sounds metallic.
Si no es por eso, es
If it's not for that,
por dinero.
it's because of money.
Pero ya eso se terminó y
But that's ended.
No se va a tolerar. la
And we are
corrupción.
not going to tolerate
En este
corruption.
caso y en
And in this
otros hay
case
que
and in
investigar,
others, we're going to investigate.
Y que no se permite, qué bien que
And we don't
todos
permit it.
estemos
And it's a good thing for all of us to be
la
monitoring.
corrupción.
Sí, ahora
corruption.
menciona,
Another
como
question
dato, este magistrado pertenece
regarding
al-
this
una
magistrate.
de la Sala Superior que en la
Um,
elección de 2017 del Estado de México propuso, por ejemplo, no sancionar el reparto de tarjetas, de la tarjeta rosa, y que también bateó
That he batted
las acusaciones de financiamiento ilegal,
something
por ejemplo, de
about
OHL a la
somebody else
compañía
had
Hermoso.
some illegal financing. Yes,
Hay que investigar.
let's investigate it.
Saber de qué.
Let's
se
see who
trata.
you're talking
Gracias,
about.
presidente. Mi segunda y última pregunta es,
And the last question,
ayer
Yesterday,
terminaron, las,
they ended
las
with
asambleas distritales,
district
que forman
assemblies,
parte del proceso interno de renovación de
which was the
Morena.
process of
Se
the
realizó la asamblea
Morena
que le
party's
corresponde
internal
a
thing.
Nito Polemski, y justo nosotros detectamos que hubo irregularidades en la
And we
votación a
detected
los
some
militantes. Se
irregularities,
les entregaron acordeones, ¿no? Papeles con los nombres
that
de
they
los
got some names,
morenistas líderes que
that
debían elegir como consejeros.
Morena leaders
entre
that
ellos,
were going to be used
precisamente la
as
dirigente Nito
counselors.
Polemski. Y esta
These
irregularidad se repitió,
irregularity
no solamente ocurrió
was
ayer, se repitió en muchas
was
asambleas.
repeated in many
Irregularidad y muchas
assemblies.
otras.
That and other
¿Qué opina
many
usted de
other
esto?
things.
Por el
What do
momento
you?
ya
What's your opinion on this?
transcurrió la primera etapa.
Meto en estas cosas,
I don't get involved in these
solo
things,
decir
but only
que
to say
se
that
equivocan,
they
quienes
make a
piensan
mistake if they're thinking
que
that
la gente
the people
es susceptible de
is
manipulación.
susceptible to manipulation.
El pueblo
The people
no es tonto.
is not stupid.
Tonto es el que piensa que el pueblo
It,
es tonto.
the people that believe that the people are stupid are
Si en
stupid.
algo hemos avanzado
So
en los
if
últimos tiempos,
one thing we've advanced in these last
es en la toma
times
de conciencia
is in the change of
de
conscience
nuestro pueblo.
of our
Pero sí
people.
manipularon ayer a los morenistas.
But what if they manipulated yesterday
Pueden
these morenistas?
hacer eso
They could do that
aceptando sin conceder
and accept.
Porque no tengo
Well, let's accept without
elementos.
conceding because I don't have the data
para juzgar.
to
Y
judge.
además, ni debería meterme.
And besides, I shouldn't even be
Pero
getting
sí es
involved in
importante
those
la
things.
reflexión
But
de
it is
fondo.
important to reflect on these funds
Ya no
or
hay
on the basis.
ciudadanos
There
imaginarios.
is no more imaginary
Ya no hay
citizens.
borregos.
There's no more sheep.
¿A dónde van?
So where are you going? That he makes meh. Where
¿Por
you going?
quién votar?
Who did you vote? So people were just voting for
Ya
whoever.
no hay
It's
eso.
not like that anymore.
Un aplauso
Give yourself a hand.
por
Yay!
la politización que hay en
Due
nuestro
to
pueblo.
becoming politicized in our
Eso es
country.
lo más importante.
That's the most
Es en lo
important
que
thing.
más hemos avanzado.
It's what we've advanced in the most.
Si no fuese así,
If it wasn't like
yo
that,
estaría
we would be
en el piso.
on the floor.
Porque
Because
los conservadores
the
no se
conservatives
resignan,
have not resigned themselves.
se resisten,
They
no aceptan los
resist.
cambios,
They will not accept the changes.
siguen
They
atacando,
continue
un día
to
sí y el otro
attack.
también.
One yes and then the other
Y
one too.
La gente
And the
nos
people
apoya.
are supporting
eso
us. And that
nos
is why
mantenemos.
we maintain ourselves.
Es
This is
otra realidad.
a new reality.
Ya se están llevando a cabo
Things are
reacomodos muy importantes. Se está
Changes,
cambiando la
important
mentalidad del
changes
pueblo.
and the mentality of
Y
the
eso es lo
people,
más importante de
which is
lograr.
most important thing to gain.
Lo más difícil
The
también.
most difficult thing as well.
Siempre digo que
I always
hay
say
veces
that sometimes
que hay revoluciones y
when
la
there's a
gente sigue
revolution,
pensando
the
igual.
people continue to think the same.
Y ahora,
And now,
sin una confrontación
A-
armada,
if there's
sin
a-
violencia,
a
se
confrontation
está
that was
llevando a
armed
cabo un
without
cambio de
violence,
mentalidad.
there's a change in
Y cuando
mentality.
cambia la mentalidad del
And
pueblo,
when
cambia todo.
mentality changes, everything changes.
Entonces,
So therefore,
pueden continuar esas prácticas.
you can continue with those practices.
Caciquiles, antidemocráticas.
Anti-democratic. Caciquiles, I don't know what that is.
Menospreciar al ciudadano.
But we cannot underappreciate the citizen. No one.
Al ciudadano en
The
general.
citizen in general,
Y en particular,
and in
en este
particular,
caso,
in
a
this
un
case,
ciudadano militante de,
a militant
un partido.
citizen from a party,
porque se supone
because they
que
suppose
se traen una trayectoria
that
de
they
lucha,
have a
hay
trajectory.
conciencia, son otros tiempos. Entonces, ¿qué va a suceder?
So then what's going to happen?
Esto nosotros lo vivimos.
We live this.
Que no acarreaban gente para ir a votar
Didn't
por
they bring people to vote
candidatos
for candidates
distintos
that were different
en la pasada elección.
in the past
¿Y qué
election?
hizo la gente?
And what did the people do?
Ya estando ahí,
Once they were there,
votó en libertad.
they voted for liberty.
Entonces,
So
es lo
therefore,
mismo.
it's the same thing.
Tiene que haber una
There has to
votación
be a vote
para elegir a los dirigentes.
in order to elect the
Estos
directors,
dirigentes partidistas,
these party
Esto también
directors, and
los
this also
dirigentes
for the
sindicales.
directors of the syndicates.
libre,
That's
secreta,
free, that's
directa.
secret, that's direct.
Y
And
yo creo que ya
I
nadie quiere
think
ser,
that no one wants to be
manipulado.
manipulated
O nadie
anymore,
va a permitir
or no one will
ser
permit
manipulado.
to be manipulated.
Entonces, tener confianza
So
en
therefore, to
eso,
have confidence in that,
y se van a equivocar.
and they'll
muchos,
make a mistake,
pero eso
some of them,
se sorprende.
but
Porque
you
suele
get
pasar
surprised because you know it's going to happen.
que desprecian
that
al pueblo
They put the people down,
Lo consideran manipulable,
and they
menor de edad.
consider them manipulatable,
Y no, ya no está
but
así.
not like that
Ya
anymore.
es otra cosa.
This is another thing.
Entonces, esa es
So
mi opinión.
therefore,
O sea,
that's the opinion,
todos esos intentos, en el
that
caso
all those attempts in the
de
case
que
of
fuese cierto lo que está
if it were true what you're saying,
no van
they're
a
not going to
prosperar.
prosper,
Porque
because
tengo entendido
as I
que va a
understand
haber
it,
una elección.
there's going to be an
Tienen que
election,
elegir,
and they
no
have
sé,
to elect.
van a participar
So
1000,
let's see, there's
2000,
going to be
3000.
2,000, 1,000, 3,000, and they're going to vote.
¿Y qué les puedo decir?
And
No
what
solo
can
a
I
los
say?
militantes
Not
de
only
Morena,
to the
a todos
militants
los
from Morena,
militantes,
but
a
all
todos
of
los
them,
ciudadanos.
all the
No se
citizens.
dejen
Don't let them
manipular.
manipulate you.
Actúen como buenos ciudadanos,
Act as
como
good citizens,
demócratas.
like Democrats.
El que se deja manipular,
The one that allows himself to be
el que
manipulated,
actúa en función de intereses
the one who acts in function of interests
de grupo,
of groups,
intereses sectarios,
sectarian groups,
no es
he is
un
not
buen ciudadano,
a good citizen.
no es demócrata.
He's not a Democrat.
Y para que quede claro, no
And in
está
order for it to be clear, he
Este-
is not
actuando
acting
en el marco
within the framework
de definición
that's
de
defined
principios
of
de la cuarta
principles of the
transformación.
fourth transformation.
Aunque diga, porque
Even if he says so,
había también la falsedad,
because there was that
decir, soy de
falsity
izquierda,
to say I'm from the left,
el corrupto no es de izquierda,
but the corrupt one is not
el
from the
que
left.
hace trampa no es de
The
izquierda,
one who does tricks is not from the
el
left.
que no le importa el pueblo no es de
The one that
izquierda.
doesn't care about the people, he's not a leftist.
Puede ser conservador,
He
eso
might
sí,
be a conservative, perhaps,
pero no de izquierda.
but certainly not
Bueno,
from the
muchas
left.
gracias, nos vemos mañana.
Thank you very much. We'll see you
Mañana
tomorrow.
nos vemos.
Tomorrow we'll see each
Se
other.
apuntan.
Thank you. So it ended there, you guys. I'm always impressed with our president, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you stuck around to the end, just so you know, I don't know if any of you are watching it on English AMLO-Vision, but because I had so many people that want Spanish material, I'm going to have to leave AMLO-Vision as the Spanish channel, and then we're going to make English AMLO-Vision for the English speaking public. So this one will be put on English AMLO-Vision, and in the I'm going to put the link on the description so that you guys can join my English AMLO-Vision channel, because right now, until people move over, I'm going to keep doing it on AMLO-Vision regular for a while, just so that you guys have time to transition and find it. But please pay attention and move over to English AMLO-Vision if you want to see the programs in English, because I do like to do programs in Spanish with some of my friends in Mexico and other lands, Spain, Peru, and they speak Spanish. So what I could do is I could put it on the Spanish channel, and then sometimes I'll translate it to English so you'll be able to see it in English later. But I need to do this in order to have a little more coordination, because the people that speak English don't want to think they're going to see a video and it turns out to be Spanish, and then they can't understand it, and vice versa the same way. The people that speak Spanish, want to be able to see the videos in Spanish. So I just have to, try and reorganize it, and I'm sorry if this is inconvenient for you. But until I get this all sorted out, I hope you guys will bear with me, because I'm really trying to do the best I can. I've had some health problems, so I haven't been able to do the visits every day with the conferences, but I am going to be trying to go backwards to some of the days because, sometimes the president says so many good things that I just can't pick. I can't pick what to do a little, a short video on. But I am trying to, I've decided to do the full conference first and then maybe take some notes and then later do like a little short one on each of the important topics that, maybe people might be more interested in hearing just that part. Um, the gas prices is always interesting and difficult to translate because there's a lot of charts, a lot of numbers. And I think, if you just read the charts, and they're pretty easy to translate, even visually, that you'll be able to figure out what the gas prices are. But sometimes, I have to cut that out because the conferences are so long already. And by the way, I don't want to make it any longer for you, but please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment, and I'll answer you. And tune in to the Twitch channel. I also have a Twitch channel, and I'll leave the link in the description as well, because my YouTube channel sometimes has difficulty going live, but my Twitch channel always goes live. So you'll see it first on the Twitch channel if you're willing to go to that channel. Get yourself a subscription, and they're very simple. You may already have a Facebook, or if you have another account, a YouTube, a Google account, all you have to do is sign in and it'll link it with your other accounts. So it'll make it very simple. Anyway, enjoy, have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.